They laughed when Jalen Prescott said he'd be representing his cousin in court. They weren't laughing 20 minutes later. Let me tell you that. You know how people are, all quick with the jokes, rolling their eyes, thinking they got the world figured out just because a kid walks into a Maricopa County courtroom with his hood up. Take that hood off, son. This isn't a rap video. That's what Judge Harold Wexler shot at him before he'd even made it past the bailiff. Whole place half full already, folks shuffling in, whispering, a couple smirks hidden behind cheap phones and tired faces. Even the bailiff had to bite his lip to keep from laughing. But Jalen didn't flinch. He just took down his hood. Short twists, sharp eyes, faces steady as stone. Looked like any other 17-year-old. Plain gray hoodie, jeans, sneakers worn down to the threads. You'd never guess he was there to make a dent in the system, but I guess that's the point, right? Jalen walked right up to the plaintiff's table, dropped his backpack like he did this every Monday, then sat down, cool as can be. Across from him, the defense attorney, mid-40s, navy suit, glasses that screamed expensive, smile that screamed, "Kid, you're not gonna last 5 minutes." Judge Wexler leaned forward, already annoyed, voice dripping with doubt. "Are you lost, Mr. Prescott?" Jalen's voice didn't waver. "I'm here representing my cousin, Miss Tiana Rowe, in her civil claim, case number 2023 CV7. That room got real quiet, real fast. You could practically hear the skepticism swirling around like dust in the Arizona sunlight. He pulled out his paperwork, neat as a pin, handed it to the bailiff. Judge checked it, gave the tiniest nod. Everything was legal, every box ticked, every I dotted. Should have been the end of it, but you know how it goes. People in power love their little tests. "All right," the judge huffed. "Let's see if you can play lawyer." The audience chuckled, low and sharp, like a pack of coyotes waiting to see something bleed. Jalen just flipped open his folder, wrote a note, didn't let a single smirk land on him. The defense lawyer tried to flex. "We reserve the right to ask for a dismissal due to the plaintiff's decision to be represented by a minor." Wexler waved it off. "Let the boy make a fool of himself. Let's see what he does." That's when Jalen looked up, calm as sunrise. "Before we proceed, Your Honor, can I verify that opposing counsel has disclosed all documentation for the February 8th lease violation? Emails, photos, timestamped notices?" The whole room stiffened. The defense fumbled. Those weren't included in initial discovery, timing issues, so Jalen cut him off, voice even, despite being material to the central claim. Wexler frowned, ordered a 5-minute recess to cough up the missing files. The court wasn't laughing now. The mood had shifted, and Jalen hadn't even gotten started. "Let me back up a sec." Jalen grew up 10 blocks from Tiana's crumbling apartment, a place where mailboxes hung by zip ties and folks didn't say civil court out loud unless they meant traffic tickets. His mother, Patrice, held down the pediatric clinic front desk 16 years straight, never missed a shift, stretched a dollar like a magician. Dad was gone by the time Jalen turned 5. He learned early, nobody's coming to save you. Teachers called him quiet, hoodie up, scribbling in the margins, but he was always listening, always absorbing. When his uncle got dragged to jail for a parking ticket gone sideways, Jalen started reading everything: court transcripts, city codes, Supreme Court decisions on Google Scholar. What started as anger turned into obsession. By 15, he could quote Arizona's tenant laws. 16, he was writing fake legal responses to eviction notices just to practice. While other kids played ball, he watched public court cases like they were Super Bowls. His mother didn't say much, but one night folding laundry, she glanced up and said, "You'd make a damn good lawyer." That stuck. It all got real the day Deanna, who worked nights at St. Joseph's, came home crying, clutching a notice. Her landlord said she broke the lease with a noise complaint, but she was at the hospital her whole shift. Her little brother Kalen staying with friends. Jalen smelled a rat. Tiana couldn't afford a lawyer, so he stepped up, not cocky, just determined. He pulled records, built timelines, got 2 neighbors to sign affidavits after hearing the manager say he was clearing out the Section 8 people. By 17, Jalen had a thick binder, no car, no social media, just pure will. Arizona law said he could represent family in civil court, so he did. When he and Tiana showed up at court, the clerk checked his ID 3 times. The papers were good. but the stares were bad. Prejudice doesn't care about paperwork. Judge Wexler started, "Let's keep this short, Mr. Prescott. We've got 3 more cases after this." Jalen stood, nothing but a notepad and pen, calm as a preacher. "Thank you, Your Honor. Before I begin, I'd like to address the court's assumption that my presence is a novelty." The defense cut in. "Objection, grandstanding." Jalen just kept steady. "It's context, and I'll move forward." He faced the judge, looked the room dead in the eye. "This isn't about noise. It's about power. My cousin is a working-class tenant in a complex that's quietly clearing out families who don't fit a certain profile. She was accused of violating her lease while working 45 minutes away. No evidence, no signature, just a typed-up report. We're not asking for sympathy. We're asking for facts." Judge asked, "You got proof?" Jalen handed over his binder, Tiana's time cards, Ms. Cheney's witness statement, building-wide notices showing selective enforcement, internal emails about revitalizing the tenant profile. Judge raised an eyebrow. "You realize evidence alone doesn't win cases?" Jalen held his ground. "Facts have a tendency to speak louder than sarcasm." Someone in the gallery snorted. Even Wexler had to check himself. The defense tried to shift blame. Tiana had a history of complaints. Jalen countered everyone, showed they were vague or flat-out false. "You came prepared," Wexler muttered. Jalen didn't smile. He wasn't there for praise. He just stood, hands folded. Then he called his first witness, Ms. Cheney from 3B. The old lady took her time, but when Jalen asked, "Did you file a noise complaint?" she answered, "No, I did not." Management tried to coax her. She never saw Tiana cause trouble and never heard about any report until Jalen showed up. The judge let her rest. No cross-examination. Then came the security footage. Tiana in her scrubs. Badge on, hospital time-stamped, not home, not guilty. Even the defense attorney just crossed his arms, watching the case unravel. Jalen wasn't done. He pulled a letter from Maria Estes, another tenant forced out the same way. Threatening letters, whispered pressure. "It's easier if you just leave." Judge Wexler read it, lips pressed thin, then said, "In 19 years, I've never seen a kid walk in here with this level of preparation, confidence, and evidence, especially not without a law degree." He turned to the defense attorney. "You've got a lot to answer for." The defense tried for a recess, then for dismissal, but the judge shot it down. "You thought you'd call a bluff and be out in 15 minutes. Turns out this young man did more homework than most third-year associates I've had." Jalen called the building manager, Phil Hayworth, who got tangled in his own contradictions, no real evidence, problematic tenants, emails about cleaning house. Jalen pressed him, "You consider working-class tenants a problem?" Phil had nothing. The room was silent. Jalen sat, jaw clenched, holding in the frustration that comes from knowing the truth isn't always enough. But sometimes, if you make folks uncomfortable, you get them to listen. The judge finally declared, "This court finds the complaint against Ms. Tiana Rowe to be without merit." The eviction process was initiated without evidence and with a troubling pattern of selective enforcement. Then, real weight in his words, he recommended a Fair Housing Act review. Wexler turned to Jalen. "I owe you an apology. When you walked in, I saw a hoodie, a teenager. I didn't see an advocate. That was my mistake. You've shown skill, knowledge, and self-control. Most adults couldn't do what you just did." Jalen just nodded. Soft, "I appreciate that." No big smiles, just the truth. Outside, the sun was bright. The world kept spinning. Tiana sat beside Jalen at the bus stop, nudged him. "Seriously, thank you." He just shrugged. "Didn't want to see you pushed out for no reason." She asked how he learned all this. He said, "I had to. Nobody else was going to." She leaned back, silent, watching clouds drift by. Jalen finally let a small smile slip. "You hungry?" "Starving. I got $20. "Then you're buying." Their laughter carried, low but strong. Some stories don't need explosions to make noise. Sometimes the loudest thing is a teenager in a hoodie, proving intelligence doesn't come with a dress code and justice isn't just for folks in suits. Jalen Prescott didn't walk out of that courtroom a hero, but he left with proof that knowledge shakes systems, preparation beats perception, and when you stand up for someone, even if everyone doubts you, you can make people see what's been ignored for years. Every neighborhood's got a Jalen, the quiet kid in the back, always watching, always remembering, waiting for someone to listen. Maybe if we made space for voices like his before they had to fight for it, things would change. So if this story made you think, share it, talk about it, ask yourself who's overlooked in your world. And if you're the one being underestimated, stay ready, stay sharp, speak up when it matters. They'll hear you, eventually.